G'day legends, I hope that you're all doing well. And thank you for the support on doing something very different yesterday with the sort of channel updates around physical health and fitness. But today we're going to talk about some Pentagon leaks, some other cruel acts of war, and then we'll have a look at the maps and talk about some fighter jets. So, the Pentagon leak. Well, we dismissed this a little bit, but we do know now that there is definitely some real information in these that the US does not want out there. Now, Jack Teixeira, a US Air Force National Guard member, has been arrested after heavily armed troops came into his home and took him away, and there's footage of that. He allegedly has released up to 50 documents that were top secret. Now, I've seen a lot of people question how he would have had access to this, and well, if you've got a top secret clearance, technically that means you're entrusted by the state to see and handle those documents. In his case, probably shouldn't have been. Now, US officials have said that he'll be charged under the Espionage Act, which makes it a crime to transmit classified defense information. Now, he could be sentenced to life in prison, or you're going to face the death penalty, and that's not really worth it for sharing some top secret information on a bloody Discord and then Minecraft server. Now, this is just unbelievably embarrassing for the US and raises a number of security concerns for its allies. Some documents that are marked no fawn, meaning they cannot be released to foreign nationals. Now, in Australia, we've got very similar. We have a classification called Osteo, which is for Australian eyes only. Now, as you can see, this can have implications with your allies, as this is not only top secret info, but top secret info that we don't want our other partners who we also share top secret information with, we don't even want them knowing what it is. Now, let's go over some of the most notable bits of this. Now, really, the big one is that the US and allied special forces, up to 90-something, could be working in Ukraine. Now, I think we already knew this, and, it really depends what they're doing. And I think one of the interesting things could be collecting, bits of intelligence equipment, such as night vision, radios, things like that, as we see this T-90 tank, which is, Russia's most modern main battle tank that's actually in service, being transported through the US. And I actually have heard about this before a lot when I was over there, that things like the CIA and other intelligence groups are on the hunt for Russian equipment, night equipment, radios, and even that T-90. I remember when the first T-90 got killed, there was photos of it, and there was rumors very quickly that that was going to be smuggled back through, to the US or the UK to then be broken down and looked at and re-engineered, to then develop weapons such as Javelins and Laws from there. And this is part of where people are concerned about sending in, Leopard 2A6s, Challenger tanks, Abrams, is could the equivalent happen the other way? Now, one thing I did hear about with the Special Forces was conducting counter-espionage. So working in Lviv, Kiev, places like that, working on, pulling out Russian FSB, spies, things like that. But this was all just rumors. And it's seemingly like that could be somewhat correct. But wouldn't surprise me one bit. Now, there's also information that Ukraine is quickly running out of air defense, and that upcoming offensives could only see modest territorial gains, and that there's going to be no talks conducted this year, and that the most likely scenario in the short term is a frontline stalemate. These are things we've talked about before. Interestingly, too, is that the US is monitoring President Zelensky. Now, I think we probably expected that anyway, that, the US intelligence services are going to just tap phones everywhere, whether it be Ukrainian, Russian, my phone. It's probably just being done. It's just the way these intelligence services work. The CIA has quite a reputation. Now, Kiev has strongly said that these documents are fake doctored images, but this is proving that they do have some degree of authenticity, and I myself paid these off as fakes in the beginning as well. Although in the past days, in a CNN interview, President Zelensky has revealed that Ukraine will have to change some of its offensive plans, on this offensive coming up in the next couple of weeks. Something I wish I didn't have to talk about, well, really is war, but more so is these cruel, as more footage has come out of a destroyed vehicle, an M113, which is an American vehicle but used by the Ukrainian army, with bodies around it with the heads. Now, this comes after the video only a few days ago, allegedly showing a Wagner Group soldier decapitating a Ukrainian POW. Now, Wagner Group leader Prigozhin has denied this was Wagner, but we've seen Wagner themselves use sledgehammers to execute their own soldiers and then celebrating. My friends who have worked in Africa through private military contractors who have had experience not with Wagner but have seen Wagner operate, they've told me before, steer clear of them, mate. They're animals. Now, we've seen abuses of international POW protections and abuse of corpses all over the front line on both sides. Of course, Russia in far greater numbers. But this is more extreme than what we've seen so far. Now, what I do know is what we're seeing occur is only what's being filmed. So I think we can assume that there's far worse happening that's not filmed and then put out on some level of media to be shared, which is just absolutely savage, and these people should be fucking disgraced. And if that is soldiers from your country, you should be absolutely disgraced of that as well. Now, people will point out, well, Australian war crimes this, Australian war crimes that. Firstly, there's a lot of information missing out of that is being held up in courts and is being fought against currently. And even if you take that as that did happen, that compared to the severity of any of this is not even comparable. I'm actually doing a video in the coming weeks with members who have been looked at in this and scrutinised on this in response to the Friendly Geordies one. But that will be in the coming weeks or months. It's taking a long time to get across, and as a lot of this is being tied up in court, it's also difficult there. But let's have a look at the maps, and we'll have a look at Bakhmut. But the Russian Defense Ministry has said in a statement about Bakhmut, the airborne troops, being the VDV, are providing support to advancing assault troops, being the Wagner Group, blocking the transfer of Ukrainian army reserves to the city and the possible retreat for enemy units. So we spoke about this before, that there was talk that Wagner Group was moving off the flanks, getting replaced with VDV, and then Wagner continuing that assault to free up some numbers. So it is looking like that could be happening. Now, before we get too stuck into it, I will say we don't actually have a deep state map today, but we will work with what we've got. So, of course, in the center we have Ukraine and the capital of Kyiv. The red area occupied by Russia since 22, and the black since 2014. The blue area is liberated by Ukraine, and this on the ISW doesn't show around Kyiv, but it's got Kharkiv and the Kherson offensive. And this is Romania, Poland, Belarus, and Russia around here. And I always miss out on Hungary just in here. So let's zoom in on Bakhmut and see what we're seeing different. So this is what we are seeing today. And as we've seen, there is the railway through here, and this is the Bakhmutka River. So Russia definitely has a tight stronghold to the west of the Bakhmutka River and up allegedly to this train line, being the yellow is claimed Russian control. So, and also claim control over the Ivanovsky Road into here. So let's have a look at the map. Yesterday, you're going to see my head pop up as well compared to today. So, and what we're going to see a lot more of is assessed Russian control and more claimed Russian control too. So yesterday's map, this is the Bakhmutka here. So the Bakhmutka River about here. So we can see this and here. So very similar that the assessed was that, and it's jumped up today well beyond these three roads into here as well as the train line here. So the assessed has moved up a long way, and look in the south. So this is the road here we see come down and then turn left. This is the road in here. So we've seen a major jump from Russia on the east and the south, and even some in the north as well. So if we look at where this is claimed, this today has come up to assessed, or means they have assessed that Russia has control in that area. As well as what we see is that Russia has at least claimed over the railway in the north, but still haven't made any advancements over the railway in the centre or in the south. But we can assume that Russia is taking more and more ground in this area. And we don't have a deep state, but we will see probably tomorrow this move up on the deep state as well. Now what we're going to have a look at is, let's have a look at the Rybar map in Bakhmut as well and compare this. So what is looking similar, what is not looking similar. So we're looking train line through here, Bakhmutka River. So at least the assessed control of the Russians is on a different angle to where it's showing here. So on the Rybar map, it is saying that they have got control all the way up to the railway, except for in the south, which is somewhat similar to the claimed, except in the south, and have got control. See this reservoir here. This was the reservoir that was said to be blown up and flood, but there was no actual evidence of that after the initial event, at least. and is showing that they're in a similar location but have pushed out more along where this road turns to the left. So if we can find that road, this is where I believe it is turning to the left here, which is the left here, just down from the corner. So they're saying more out in this region. But again, it is very similar situation. And we see on this is showing that if we see on the top left of Rybar, it is saying the Russia controls 80% to Ukraine's 20% of Bakhmut, which, judging by all these different maps, is probably fairly close. But I will say that these maps are showing very similar. Now, what can we see about the road to Ivanovsky? So let's see if there's a more zoomed out. And we don't really have it, although this is where the MiG-17 is, and Russia is saying that they're only just pushing across onto this, where, let's have a look on the Bakhmut, on the ISW, is showing fairly similar, but they're almost showing more control over into the MiG-17 than Rybar is. So that is very interesting as well. So we do have some footage inside Bakhmut as well. Now this video is said to be that road from Ivanovsky to Bakhmut. And that road we know has been under fire control for a long time. Crossing this bridge, there's been a vehicle hit by something on fire across the road. This looks like a soft skin, just normal four-wheel drive. And you can see more artillery shells coming in. And that is unbelievably close. And this road on fire control. And this road is this one from Ivanovsky here that it's said. So we also know that Ukraine has been bringing down buildings in the center of Bakhmut as they move rearwards and Russia move forwards. So this building in the center of Bakhmut, which I don't have a geolocation for, was said to be taken down by Ukrainian forces that was rigged to blow and come down to try and stop Wagner Group's advance through there. So you can see more footage of these buildings coming down. These is from Russian sources. You can see these coming down. As well as we've seen in the center of Bakhmut, Russian sources showing the most modern type of tank from Russia, the T-90M tank being used inside Bakhmut. This is the same tank that we have seen on the back of a trailer in Louisiana. Also as well, Russian sources have shared these photographs inside Bakhmut, and these were geolocated to this region here. So we do know that there are definitely photographs of Russians are in this region in the administrative building, where Prigozhin says all the administrative buildings are under control of the Russian forces. Now, the Polish Prime Minister today confirmed that Poland would send more fighter jets, but these will be MiG-29 fighters, a Soviet-era fighter. Now, these are far from the F-16 that Kyiv has been begging for, but it's still a step in the right direction of those fighter aircraft and that capability. Now, these are cheaper and can be used now with not much or any extra training at all. Now, these jets are actually coming from East Germany Soviet stockpiles. So the deal was done between Germany and Poland. Now, Poland in the coming years will get top of the line but troubled F-35 fighter jets to replace the jets they are sending. But legends, that's all I've got for you guys today. As always, if you'd like to support me, there's links below, but never feel obliged to do that. But look after yourselves. Always love checking in with you, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.